So, 2016 was a thing, which honestly wasn't all that bad a year for me. I mean, when you consider how great a year this was for movies and definitely for video games, and when you realise that pretty much the same BS happens every year, 2016 doesn't seem all that bad in retrospect. So many companies were churning out heavy hitters left and right, so much so that it was literally impossible to keep up with everything. And it's actually saying quite a bit when the apparent worst games of the year, those being No Man's Sky and Mighty No. 9, ended up being more quote-unquote disappointing and outright bad. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to try out many of these due to me suddenly running into financial problems and becoming flat out broke. Oops. So I did the next best thing, and went around buying a ton of all the games that I ended up missing, and decided to get off my lazy ass and seek out some games that people have been clogging in my inbox telling me to play. I finally did it! Are you vampires happy yet? Anyways, so there aren't any rules to this list, apart from me having to have started playing this game this year, and I have to have at least played enough of it to at least gain a grasp of the story and gameplay. So, why is it a top 15 instead of that top 10 I promised you? I think it's fairly obvious by now that I'm an incredibly indecisive asshat. I've pretty much run out of things to say at this point, so let's start this damn thing already. Horror games and me have a sort of odd relationship. It honestly takes a lot to unsettle me and make me react to the spookiest shit unfolding in front of me on the screen. And to be honest, the last horror game that I actually got a decent mileage out of was Outlast, even though that was only for a few scenes. Although the upcoming Resident Evil 7 looks set to change this. My god, that game looks amazing. But I want some consistent scares. So I searched around for a game to satisfy my horror cravings, and I think I found one with Fear. Never before have I played a game that lives up to its name more than this one. The game states that the acronym title stands for First Encounter Assault Recon, but I believe a more appropriate title is Fuck Everything and Run. The horror element to this game is honestly some of the best I've played for a good while. The game plays off of your sense of paranoia greatly as you never really feel safe, and that's due to a certain character, known as Alma Wade. Alma is possibly one of the creepiest things I've seen in a video game. For a start, she's a ghost child that looks like she could be best friends with the girl from The Ring. She pops up whenever you least expect it, most of the time appearing just out of sight, and you get the feeling that she's a constant presence, always watching you. And she also has some weird obsession with ladders. Yeah, some of her biggest scares have got something to do with ladders. Probably due to this stuff being designated safe zones in games like this. However, Alma, and by extension the rest of the horror, only really provides half of the fun. If you couldn't tell from the footage, Fear is one half horror game and one half first person shooter. And it honestly has one of the most intelligent FPS AI directors I've ever seen. Yeah, this isn't exactly something you can go ahead and Rambo your way through. You need to think here. Enemies will react to the use of your flashlight and sounds of your footsteps, and they'll even attempt to chase you down and flush you out when they lose sight of you. They'll even bark out orders and constantly communicate with each other as you mow them down. Combine this brilliant AI with a paranoia-inducing Alma and you end up with an experience that constantly puts you on edge, making it almost impossible to relax. If Alma's not done playing with you, you're getting shot to pieces by enemy troops. Heck, sometimes the game even tries to combine the two to keep you on your toes, which I consider to be a dick move. Hey look, it's that one game I was going to talk about the last time I made a list like this, but couldn't find a copy anywhere. Thank God for Steam. I got a craving for more Hitman ever since I played Absolution last year, and considering how I like the funds to buy Hitman no subtitle, Blood Money was the next best thing. Compared to Absolution, which made some questionable design choices with level design, all of Blood Money's levels are what Hitman does best, being that all of them are wide open sandboxes with multiple approaches, which allow you to express a large amount of creative freedom when assassinating your targets, and the game is structured in such a way that every mistake you make will end up making that game that much harder. Get recorded by a security camera and don't destroy the evidence, then guards will be more suspicious of you. Leave a witness when performing an obvious kill, then you run the risk of people recognizing you in later levels thanks to the game's notoriety system. You're also a bit more careful when using melee weapons as they'll become covered in blood after using them, and people will notice if you carry them around. You can even choose exactly which equipment you enter a level with, and you get opportunities to upgrade said equipment later on. As for the levels themselves, for a game made in 2004, these levels are honestly some of the best in the series. Well, I can't exactly speak for the 6th game on account of me not having played it. Yeah, no money, which sucks. One level has you hunting down members of a gang on a Mississippi River steamboat. never saying that again. One sees you infiltrating a rehab clinic to take out high-ranking gangsters, and then we have the mission which takes place on a crowded street in the middle of Mardi Gras, forcing you to be extra subtle when taking out your targets, as one slight slip-up will cause the entire map to descend into chaos, causing police officers to swarm on the scene. Which honestly happened to me on more than one occasion. Although if you cast your minds back to last year, you'll remember that one of my favourite parts of Absolution was the freedom and weapons you had when it came to ending the lives of evil douchebags. So I was looking forward to seeing what insane murder weapons were in store for me this time, and I was pretty satisfied for the most part. The classic poisoned food and dropping chandeliers on people are there in top form, but there's also opportunities for a bit of fun. If a chandelier isn't to your liking, you can always crush someone with a piano, or you can always strangle someone with a barbell. Or how about swapping a prop gun for a real one during an opera scene rehearsal? Makes me wonder if the agency Mr. 47 works for is run by the Wile E. Coyote. This is an odd one. The last time I brought up Call of Duty was all the way back in 2013 in 2 terrible videos, one of which I'm actually glad got taken down for a while. It's like I'm revisiting the dark age of this channel. I feel dirty now. If you've been around here for a while, you'll know that I wasn't exactly all that kind to the Call of Duty games the last time we talked about the series. So consider this a redemption 4 years in the making. So, Advanced Warfare. Initially I was skeptical about this one. The Call of Duty game set in the near future? Yeah, Black Ops 2 didn't exactly turn out all that well. Are you sure you want to do another one? Fine, okay, I'll bite. Let's see how this one is, shall we? Wow, this is actually pretty good. Admittedly, the setting is still Call of Duty at its core, what with the player character being part of an elite group of operatives, although this time you're part of a PMC instead of the military, trying to take down a group of terrorists who want to dismantle modern society because peanuts. However, the futuristic twist on the whole thing allows the developers to be a bit more creative when they're world building, and it honestly shows in the level design of the missions, as a lot of the levels look a lot more open and alive compared to the previous entries in the series, especially those levels set in New Baghdad and Greece. Nice to see that the dev team knows that there's more colours than just various shades of brown. The gameplay has also received a bit of a shake-up this time around as the new weapons tie into the game's setting, with the variable grenades, a sonic shotgun, and a laser gun. There's even a gun that makes its own ammo due to a miniature 3D printer built into the magazine. Don't ask me how that works, but why should you care? The gun has infinite ammo. The biggest shake-up of it is the Exos, basically armoured exoskeletons worn by every soldier in the game. Not only do the Exos make you less squishy, they also give you access to various abilities similar to the armor abilities of Halo Reach. As for the story, yeah, it's Call of Duty, what did you expect? Nothing too special, however there was an interesting twist halfway through that was admittedly kind of easy to see coming. Although the one thing that stops from becoming cliché is the game's villain, Jonathan Irons. Not only is he portrayed by Kevin fucking Spacey, he's actually quite civil for a villain, only really giving in to anger when his plans fail, and he's generally a breath of fresh air compared to the usual enemy forces commanders and terrorist leaders that the franchise usually pitch you against, which, along with setting gameplay shake-ups, helps to give the franchise a new coat of paint. Nice to see they didn't blow all the game's budget on hiring the star power. Hey look, it's a game from that other FPS series that suddenly went downhill with its latest installment. Yep, still salty about Halo 5. Probably I'll never forgive 343 for that atrocity. So, Halo 2. Or to be exact, Halo 2 Anniversary, which I believe is part of the Master Chief Collection, because finding a copy of the original Halo 2 is borderline impossible. As it stands, I think the general Halo community may have slightly over-exaggerated this game's quality. I mean, it's still a pretty solid experience, but I consider it one of the series' weaker entries. It's better than 4, and definitely better than 5, but not as good as 1, 3, or Reach. But then again, how do you top the perfection that was Halo Reach? But before this list becomes a rehash of any overrated games list ever made, seriously not doing one of those again, I should probably list off the reasons why you enjoy this game. For a start, the level design and gameplay is a lot more open than the first Halo, as the levels honestly feel a bit more open-ended, with multiple pathways at certain points, and a lot of them are filled with wide open areas, and they even give us some decent vehicle sections, no doubt as the controls seem a lot less slippery this time. And you actually have room to maneuver. However, the main difference to the gameplay this time is that you play half of the game as Master Chief, and the other half as a new kid on the block, the Arbiter, who was the commander of the elites from the previous game, which is a nice touch. Playing as Arbiter is pretty much the same as playing as Master Chief, except you have a cloaking ability and you start each level with the fucking energy sword. I think we all know where this is going.
Stab, stab, stab.
Who needs guns? These new levels where you play as the Arbiter actually have a hefty amount of significance to the story, as this was the game that the story of the Halo series really came into its own. Not that the story of the first Halo was bad, there really wasn't anything we haven't seen before in sci-fi media though. This game ups the stakes by giving us a true origin to the Flood, and even gives them a leader in the form of the Gravemind. And the Arbiter side of the story gives the Covenant aliens a lot more depth, as the later Arbiter levels show the beginnings of a Covenant civil war, leading to the Arbiter, another elite known as the Shipmaster, whose real name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, taking control of most of the elites as they break away from the rest of the Covenant. Shame that Master Chief's side of the story only really gets interesting after the stories start merging together. At least the levels themselves are interesting to play through. Remember Prototype? Yeah, looking back at it, Prototype's gameplay wasn't really the best. I mean, it was satisfying and pretty solid, however the whole game is plagued with difficulty spikes at the wazoo, and cheap enemy types that make it hard to feel like the immortal badass you're playing as. Fortunately, the sequel manages to fix these problems, and then some. Okay, let's start by dealing with the elephant in the room, the new player character, James Heller, with Alex Mercer from the first game becoming the main antagonist of this one. Yeah, Heller's personality is basically the cliched angry black man, meaning he's less of an interesting character than Mercer, and as a result, less likable. The villains also suffer, with Alex Mercer being reduced to a cliched villain who is planning to turn the world into a hive mind, and Gensek and Black Butch losing all their grey morality points, now doing evil stuff just for the lulz. So, why do I like this game? Because everything else is pretty damn good. For a start, the gameplay is what the first game should have been. No more cheap enemy types, a better method of blocking attacks, which even allows you to pull and return Descender on certain projectiles, and a lot of the powers have been reworked, making most of them a hell of a lot less situational. For a start, Claws have received a damage boost, making them a viable attacking option this time around, with Fist Fist have traded a bit of speed for a mild damage buff and more range, and Hammer Fist is actually usable! Even the new ability, Tendrils, has a wide array of uses, as it can plow through most armored enemies in a matter of seconds. Heck, Shield is a lot more useful too, functioning as more of a counter move instead of an awkward physical wall that you held in front of you. Even unlocking the powers feels a lot more intuitive. The first game had you unlocking them by spending skill points on them, with a few being unlocked through the story mode, so the whole thing did feel a little disjointed in places. So Prototype 2 decided to simplify this, as this time all powers are unlocked by consuming story-specific enemies, with optional upgrades being unlocked the same way. Want the Claws? Consume a Brawler. Want Hammer Fist? Consume a Brew. But the main reason why I like this game is because of just how fun it is. The challenge level is a lot more consistent and the gameplay is a lot more fluid than before, thanks to the tweaks made to the gameplay and their new addition of switching between two powers on the fly. And this time, the bosses are actually enjoyable. Especially that final fight with Alex Mercer at the place where the Outbreak, and by extension, the first game began. Talk about one major step up from the Supreme Hunter. One franchise I've been meaning to sink my teeth into is the Sly Cooper series. I mean, I like stealth games, and I like 3D platformers, so why not try out a game series that combines the two? Thieves in Time wasn't exactly my ideal entry point into the series, but it was easy to find, so here we go. Taking place at an unspecified amount of time after the end of Sly 3, Thieves in Time opened with Sly struggling to adapt to not being a thief after starting a life with Carmelita. I think. I haven't played the Sly games. So... Anyways, after some time, Sly gets contacted by his good friend Bentley, who informs him that the pages of the thievish Raccoonus are going blank, causing Bentley to come to the logical conclusion that someone must be travelling through time and messing with history, with the only solution being to build a time machine and fix the damage caused to the time stream. Naturally, as the game is a focus on time travel, each of the levels takes place across various time periods such as feudal Japan, medieval England, and even the Ice Age. These levels are actually pretty interesting to traverse through, allowing you to play around with the various characters' abilities to your heart's content as you go about your business. As in previous games of the series, the game has you playing as the three main members of the Cooper gang, Sly, Bentley, and Murray, with each having their own unique gameplay style. Sly is the character you'll be playing as for the most of the game, and his gameplay is a combination of stealth and platforming, typically having you sneaking around and performing fancy acrobatics so you try not to get caught. Bentley's gameplay prominently features a more stealthy style of gameplay, as you typically use bombs and explosive darts to dispatch enemies, as Bentley lacks the means to attack enemies head on. It also features hacking minigames to break up the gameplay at various points, and these are honestly quite fun. They're all based off arcade games, one being a twin-stick shooter and the other being a 2D shooter, and they served a nice little distraction and breather sections from the longer Bentley sections. As for Murray, being the muscle, his gameplay throws stealth out the window entirely, as his sections play out like a beat-em-up, so you can plow through most enemies fairly effectively, and it can get pretty cathartic to effortlessly take out enemies that previously gave you trouble. However, the unique thing about this game, at least compared to the others, also ties into the game's time travel theme, as each level has you playing as one of Sly's ancestor, with the one you're playing as corresponding to the time period you're in. Each of them has their unique abilities, which makes their levels a lot more interesting than the basic Sly levels. Honestly, my favourite one is Tennessee Kid Cooper. Not only is his personality fairly entertaining, his sections just make dealing with enemies that little bit easier. Why? He has a gun. That'll do. Honestly, if the other Sly games are half as good as Thieves in Time was, I get the feeling I'm in for a pretty good experience. In case you couldn't tell already, I like Batman. And I also love the Batman Arkham games. And when you consider these two things I just told you, it's only natural one of the first games I got from my PS4 was the highly anticipated Batman Arkham Knight. And for the most part, I really enjoyed this. It really captures the sense of finality that the game was intended to go for. The open world is goddamn huge, the gameplay is the most fluid it's ever been, with a wider amount of takedown options than before, the free flow guidance is given much more depth, and good lord, the stealth sections give you so many options to dispatch faceless mooks, it's honestly unfair. God, I love the remote hacking device. Unfortunately, this game does have a few problems. Reading the majority of the boss fights are incredibly anticlimactic, the amount of content crammed into it means that the cracks in the game show at certain points, remember that PC release, and the fact that the Batmobile was shoehorned into pretty much everything. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed a lot of the Batmobile segments, no doubt due to how fluid the controls were, but did we really need all those Cobra Tank battles? 1 is fine, 2 is slightly pushing it, but the amount we got pushes past overkill and enters the realm of tedium. Luckily, these things don't really create too big of an impact to take away from the overall experience. The basic premise this time is that Scarecrow has gathered a huge host of villains from Batman's Rogues Gallery as he attempts to take down the Cape Crusader while threatening to flood Gotham City with fear toxin. While I personally see the stories in the Arkham games as mere excuses to go places and break people's faces, fuck, I did poetry, the story of Arkham Knight is actually pretty solid and engaging for the most part, and has a few moments that honestly took me by surprise and questioning if that actually just happened, aside from a pointless plot twist considering the Arkham Knight's identity. The game also serves as sort of relative who's who for the Batman mythos. The usual suspects such as Penguin, Scarecrow and Harley Quinn return, but we also get some characters you wouldn't expect. Deathstroke and Firefly return from Arkham Origins, and then we get 4 characters from completely out of left field. Simon Stagg, Deacon Blackfire, Professor Pig and Man-Bat, with the side missions involving the latter two having a fair amount of elements that seem to draw a lot of inspiration from survival horror games, that actually unsettle me to a degree that the series hasn't delivered since the Scarecrow section of the first game. We even get Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul, Killer Croc, and Mad Hatter as part of the Season Infamy DLC pack. You know, as far as series finales go, this is probably one of the best examples you could find out there. Kinda sad that it's all over now. I have to admit, I was skeptical about this one. I didn't really know as to how you could continue the series after the finale of Infamous 2, because, you know, every conduit dies in a good ending and Cole kills all non-conduits in the evil ending. Kinda thought that was it, really. But leave it to the magnificent bastard at Sucker Punch to give it a pretty damn good try. BS reasons of how this game even exists aside, the basic story of this game is kind of interesting. Conduits have become persecuted after the events of Infamous 2, leading to the creation of the DUP, a government agency that hunts down conduits and locks them away in a special prison. This leads to our new protagonist, Delsin Rowe, a young man who discovers he is a conduit with the power to absorb the powers of other conduits after running with escape conduit, Hank. Good lord, how many times did I say conduit just now? Delsin later runs into the leader of the DUP, Brooke Augustine, who tortures members of Delsin's tribe to get information which can lead her to Hank's location, leading to Delsin and his brother Reggie to go to Seattle in an attempt to get Delsin to copy Augustine's power to save them. Like the 2 games before it, Second Son featured the karma system, with the action you take affecting how the story plays out, and it's unfortunately the major problem with the story this time around. All of the evil karma options seem incredibly out of character for Delsin, and some of them are even counterproductive to his original goal. Certain story-specific scenes also don't change if you're good or evil, meaning that they make no sense if you choose the evil path. Aside from that, I had a ton of fun with this game. The gameplay, especially the new powers, feel incredibly fluid and free-flowing with a lot more options when it comes to mobility, giving the player a lot more freedom when exploring the open world of Seattle. As for the combat, the new powers open up new options for you, even allowing you to switch the active power you have on the fly by draining different sources. The smoke power works as a sort of hit and run playstyle, all its ability is based on getting close, dealing damage, and then getting out of there quickly. Neon is based around precision, giving you a pretty good sniper ability, the ability to target specific points of enemies' bodies, and you even get a super speed ability. I am so sorry! Although my favourite, by far, is video. This power is based all around battlefield control, yet the way you do it is incredibly creative. By summoning holographic angels and demons to attack enemies, even getting to use their weapons, and even launching giant swords to cause massive damage and create hazards. Although quite possibly the best part of the gameplay is the karmic streaks. Taking inspiration from the ionic attacks from Infamous 2, by getting streaks of either good or bad karma depending on your allegiance, you can perform a ridiculously flashy and powerful attack that can cause massive damage to pretty much anything. They're also easy to pull off, as all you have to do is perform 5 or good evil karmic actions in a row, compared to the random ionic power drops in Infamous 2. Honestly, if this game is an indication of the direction the series will take in the future, I can honestly get behind this, and I look forward to what they can do with it.
Derp, derpity derp 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 derp.